It's going to get so untidy on Share Shootout this evening. Welcome to the most violent stock picking show on TV. Share Shootout right here on CNBC Africa, first in business worldwide. Before the break, Nic and Sasha both gave us two of their stock picks. We got from Sasha. He went long on life healthcare. Nic doesn't like it very much, simply from the point of view of the healthcare stocks being massively expensive, and he shot it down. He accepted the long pick on Nampak because he was concerned about pick number 3, but I do think he may have been circumvented somewhat, because if he accepts Sasha's next pick, he's going to have to go long on a share that nobody can like, not even its mother can like. And then Nic Norman-Smith, Comair, he went short on Comair. Sasha agrees that there isn't really a long-term future for the profits of the airlines. Hopefully they all stay airborne for a terribly long time and don't crash with us sitting in their seats. But at 45 Rand per passenger profit per flight, it really is a very narrow margin business, and a lot can go wrong. York Timber going long. Sasha laughed at the idea of planting trees and then waiting 15 years for a return and shot it down with a box of matches. Okay, Sasha, I'm going to make Nic go first again because I really want him to sweat about your final pick.
Okay, but he's picked
once
Nampak,
again your impartiality. Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah.
Yes, but the point is, there is no way with a clear conscience he can argue against your final pick, because you can't short on a company that nobody can like. So, not even the chief executive.
After you see my next pick, you might be surprised.
And I am somewhat surprised, because the chief executive of this company told us a month ago he was quitting because he needed a new outlook on life, and that he'd done his job and he didn't want to get trapped in a company after dealing with the competition commission. And Roger Jardine told a very good story. Now, you look at Avenger's results just out last week and you go, hold on a second, Roger. You jumped before you were pushed, mate. Those results weren't very good. In 30 seconds, why do you like Aveng?
It's always darkest before the dawn, Bruce, and I really don't think it can get much worse for Aveng. Terrible results, terrible industry. They've been under a lot of pressure. We've been seeing a big slump in the construction sector. Everyone hates it. But the odds are actually for you for a bit of a turnaround. Buying it at less than book value, a company that was trading over 3 times book value back when everyone thought construction was a great place to be. So a bit of a contrarian pick, but with a net cash position on their balance sheet, a nice foreign business which will be geared to weaker rand, and a local business that is basically not making any money. The only way is up.
When you talked about the contrarian what? The contrarian. Oh, I thought you were talking about him for a moment.
The contrarian view. Isn't that the contrarian view?
Well, that's the contrarian view. We sometimes have to see it. Aveng, going long on Aveng, it's incredibly courageous.
You know, as I've said to you before about construction stocks, for private individuals, which Nic and I have been entrusted with looking after their money, it's just too cyclical for my liking. You know, he said something in there which I grabbed onto. He said terrible industry.
Yes.
Did you say terrible?
Darkest before the dawn, terrible industry. This is really a bad idea.
Terrible in the eyes of everyone else. No, it's certainly not a wonderful industry. You need to buy it very, very cheap, because
and
the only
cheap enough?
It is cheap enough, and the only barriers to entry are the scale, because there only are a number of companies that can really do these big projects. But it's certainly not. It's not like a healthcare industry, but it's cheap enough that that's mitigated.
The question you need to answer for us, Sasha, is whether the construction industry is cheap enough, if it will ever be cheap enough, and should you not be going into these companies relatively cheaply?
You've asked me the same question. You obviously got a very bad memory, Bruce.
Sasha, what I'm asking you is, should we be going into these companies at this point in the cycle, because they're very cheap, nobody likes them, and is it the right time to be going into them?
Not for me.
I think that's the third time.
That's the third time. No.
Absolutely not. You're shooting it down.
Yes.
Mercilessly.
Yes.
Cyclical industries are fine as long as you buy them at the bottom of the cycle, not at the top of the cycle.
How do you know when it's the bottom?
Well, you don't exactly, but if you look at history and where these stocks have priced, they're certainly at the low end of where they've traded before.
What happens to bottom points?
And who they make a lot of money eventually, actually. Yeah.
Okay. I thought they could.
Provided you pick the quality, yeah.
Yeah, picking quality bottoms is what is important. Okay.
Exactly.
Right. Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact. The moment that Nic Norman-Smith has been waiting for. We've traumatized him all the way through the show this evening. Why SAPPI and a short on SAPPI? There is no way you can argue against a short on SAPPI.
You never
In 30
know.
seconds.
He's a contrarian investor.
I think he called him the contrarian prick, but that's something else. In 30 seconds. You said it, I didn't. In 30 seconds on SAPPI.
Well, you know, 2/3 of their businesses in North America and Europe, and 2/3 of the product they sell is fine coated paper. Now, last I checked, people were after devices such as these. So it's not so much that magazines are dead, but perhaps the stuff that they printed on. Creaking debt burden, They've already recapitalized the business. What was it, 645 back in 2008? Monster rights issue. They keep turning the corner so many times, they're turning pages.
There we go. Very good in 30 seconds. Can you argue against a short on SAPPI?
You can, Bruce, because you can and you have to if you're playing share shootout. But on the positive side, from a supply perspective, everyone knows that paper's dying. Although people have said paper's dying for 10, 15 years, how often have we heard about the paperless office? I think we are a lot closer than we were. But a lot of that supply has come out of the market, and SAPPI has cut and shuttered a lot of that supply. So people are still going to be using paper. We still use a reasonable amount of paper in our office. And we think we're pretty good.
Yeah, but you're a bunch of cantankerous buggers who are out to prove a point. It's not that you actually find it comfortable or anything. You actually miss paper terribly, and you have to use the back of paper napkins to send each other messages sometimes.
It's called email, Bruce. You must try it.
Okay, I will one day. So you use no paper in your office?
Absolutely nothing, other than
a single-handed attempt to try and undermine SAPPI. But the point is that the paper industry is under a lot of pressure. A lot of supply has come out of the global markets. Paper is facing a very, very difficult future. Is there a long-term investment prospect?
There is, because whoever's left, people are still going to be using paper. And as long as that's
But Jonathan Leslie, the last CEO, told me that 10 years ago.
Oh, well,
I don't have this much time to wait for a return.
Well, and once again, it's darkest before the dawn. So I think pretty much everyone knows that argument and hates
We're in the
SAPPI
Northern
for it.
Hemisphere, and it's December. There is no dawn, is there?
And in Iceland.
And in Iceland.
You're meant to be impartial here, Bruce.
Of course I am.
So can I add something to Nick? Because not all paper manufacturers are dead in the water. Because there are different kinds of paper.
Absolutely, but this is the glossy paper, this is the sexy stuff of Vogue magazine and similar things, which you...
No, the only positive is that there is a lot of supply out the market, and because everyone hates this so much, I think valuation is actually strong enough.
Would you
I'd be a bit scared to be
100
shorted.
SAPPI shares for your child?
I wouldn't be shorted, Bruce. I think I'd kind of just stay flat, stay neutral, because
I'm neutral on this one.
Because hey, maybe what you've seen in the past is that there's even a little bit of positive news out of the industry. Hey, actually, demand is there. There's a big push, and the short squeeze, can happen. So I think I'd be very wary of. Look at the people who are shorting their platinum stocks.
You're shooting down the short.
Absolutely.
Shooting down the short on SAPPI. Sorry, we tried.
But that's how the game is played.
This is not about the game, this is about truth, honesty, and integrity, and honest views. Well,
so
that's
is that
what
after
I'd like
the
to
show or on this show?
on the show, apparently,
Okay.
allegedly. So I'm told. Well, that was
Very
the business
bad
plan.
custodian of those values, Bruce.
You know what? I think they should both be shot down this week. They're far too mouthy, far too difficult, and far too obstreperous. Let's just revisit what the nonsense they were speaking this evening. Nic Norman-Smith, Comair, short. You've got to go short Comair, says Sasha. So that was the one bit of sense they spoke this evening. Nic Norman-Smith, timber, go long on York Timber. Sasha laughed at him. He laughed at Aveng long as well. Absolutely no appetite for the construction sector. Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact, long on Life Healthcare, long on Nampak, short on SAPPI. Life Healthcare, shot down. Nampak, grudgingly accepted, and then Nic Norman-Smith with quite a convincing defense of SAPPI. So my decision is, as punishment for both of them, for being mouthy, obnoxious, obstreperous, and playing the game to the fullest intention of the game, they can both come back next week. It's a draw. Remember, we'll be hosting another match next week with Nic Norman-Smith and with Sasha Naryshkine, our dancing champion and the champion that ran away, but otherwise known as Gary Boyson from Bunani Private Clients. I don't think we'll invite him next week. I think he can wait. We're going to have these guys back next week on the most vicious stock-picking show on television. My word is law on this. Give us your feedback on twitter.com @BruceBusiness. You can follow Share Shootout. Give us the hashtag SSO. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to punish these two next week because I'm going to be even more mean. I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.